All right, hey traders, TG Watkins here, and let's see, it is December 1st, so welcome to December. And we've got a lot to cover today because the last video that I made, which had a lot of views, I want to just go through a lot of what I was talking about back then because everything changed because Jerome Powell had the speech that he gave yesterday at the Brookings Institute, and basically what he said there was that yes, we're probably going to start reducing the pace of interest rate hikes starting at the December FOMC meeting. That was the news that then set everything off. So everything that I was looking for the UVXY and the VIX to set up a trigger was all pretty much right there. I mean, I'll show you guys the UVXY. It was ready to go. But then Jerome Powell came out and said what he said. So if he was a little bit more hawkish, or if he said, yeah, you know, we're still going to stand firm, we're still going to, I don't know, keep interest rates high or whatever, you know, if he just basically said something else, I think the market would have dipped because everything was looking pretty stretched to the upside. But then because of his comments, basically it got breathed in new life and everything got moved up. So yeah, got a lot to go through and show and actually just show you guys like the exact setup, walking right up to the doorstep, and that it all changed with Jerome Powell. So if we look at here with the SPY and what I have been looking at, so what we could see is, first off, we were right here at the daily 200, and I was looking for price to pull back, which it did, and we could even see price up, Moxie indicator down, and we were right on zero, right on zero. And we had price moving down. I was correct last week or the week before when I was talking about this. This was a short squeeze, 100%, absolute short squeeze. It was a low volume short squeeze because there weren't any new real buyers coming into that area. It was just shorts exiting, having to buy, and basically short-term traders buying, doing that kind of stuff. And so the way that that worked is once all the shorts were squeezed out, price collapsed. And that's because there was nobody actually really buying it. So we had that. Also, it was probably people, liquidating going into Jerome Powell's conversation or her speech. I could also show you that leading up to that, this right here, you see how the Moxie indicator is very spread from each other? That means they don't really agree with each other. Yes, they're going in the same direction, but they don't agree, so they're not very strong, which meant this move was not a very strong move. It wasn't the real move. And you can see subsequently, when we got back from the vacation week, it came all the way back down. Then we had, it looked like price was coming down. It looked like price wanted to continue to follow the 15-minute 50 to the downside. And I was ready for the SPY to break down to the hourly 200. I was really just kind of looking for one more dip, and then we can kind of move up from there, and then we kind of see where things go. But Jerome Powell's comments totally changed everything. So that's what I see from the SPY. Let me show you guys the UVXY, because this thing was also just right there. I mean, look at this. Let me get the one, yeah, let's do that. So you can see on the hourly chart, and even the 15, I really want to get that. That was pretty nice in there too. So what you can see is we had positive divergence going into here from price down. We also had price outside of the third ATR with a gap between price and the 8 EMA. And it was right there, sitting right at the hourly 50. The Moxie indicator was basically one day from crossing over and going positive over zero. And we had a trampoline move here on the 15-minute time frame. So price below the 50, but the Moxie indicator above zero. And then we had price actually sit and get over the 15-minute 50, looking ready to go. So if Jerome Powell had said, I guess, anything else, this would have been ready to go like that if it held the 15-minute 50. The Moxie indicator would have gone up like that. The hourly price would have gone over the hourly 50, and we most likely would have gotten a move right there to the daily 21. So that's what I was looking for. But then, Jerome Powell said basically we are going to slow the rate of increases starting December, and boom, I got a big move to the downside. So yeah, that's kind of what I was looking through for there. And that just changed everything. So now the UVXY trade is off, the VIX trade is off until we see something come next. And even at that, I'm going to be a little bit hesitant to see where it might go. I could obviously see little bounces, maybe bounces up to the 21, but we need to be careful because any bounce to the 21 would probably eventually roll over. And I think that would probably be little dips on the SPY that end up being buyable. Now, if we look at the VIX, and we kind of come in here and, same thing, I was looking for the VIX, so you can see we have that positive divergence on the hourly chart, all that kind of stuff, and we were right here on the 15-minute time frame, like getting ready just to cross over. You can even see here on the hourly chart crossing over the hourly 50. I was ready for just a bit of a move like that, and didn't happen. So Jerome Powell comments, all that. News trumps the charts, and it rolled on over. Now, yes, we're getting into an area where VIX low, look out below, but if this market keeps moving up, and granted we have the jobs number tomorrow, and I think one other something that might move the market, as long as everything's kind of intact, I think the bigger narrative is the Fed starting to slow the pace of interest rates, because we've probably, basically what I think that means is that we've reached peak quantitative tightening. So we are no longer doing 75, we're going to do 50, and then after that we'll be doing 25, we might do a couple 25s, and then after you do that, then you pause, and after you pause, you reverse. So I think that is how far ahead the market is looking, saying, okay, we are now coming down, and we're making things easier monetarily. So VIX coming down. All right, so we'll see, just little bounces along the line otherwise. Then if we look at the Dow, I was looking at the Dow, it was very overbought, and you can see here, Moxie price trigger right on cue. And we could even see the day before Powell spoke, you could see price continue to get flagged into the underside of a downtrending 15-minute 50 with the Moxie indicator below zero, and it continued down. But then Jerome Powell spoke, and it just completely changed everything. So there was no real technical level or anything else like that. So now I'm kind of in a situation where we have price up here and the Moxie indicator is down here, which not the greatest situation. It does seem, technically it's an inverse trampoline move. And so I'm like, okay, how much further is this thing going to go? I was looking for price to come back down here to meet up with the hourly 200 eventually, and to more meet up, a little bit stronger than what it did, actually meet with the daily 21. Now, what might happen is the Dow might be taking a break, because obviously it's had a really, really big move. And we've seen that these things have diverged. I mean, look at the Dow versus the NASDAQ. So it is quite possible for things to diverge from each other. So given what's happening with interest rates and the messaging that is there, we might be seeing the Dow start to slow down, and a rotation from those Dow stocks going into, say, the IWM or the NASDAQ. So, Russell or NASDAQ, one of those. And we could see this maybe just kind of flagging sideways for a while. I don't know how big of a range or anything like that, but, maybe it's going to start kind of flagging a bit. So that's generally what I'm seeing from the Dow. And if we do look at the NASDAQ, you can see, the NASDAQ is so much quieter. The Dow's like up here, and the NASDAQ's down here. So what if money from the Dow comes into the NASDAQ and they kind of start switching places like that? I think that's possible. So I would be looking for something like that. Also, before I forget, if we look at the SPY, there has been one thing that I have been talking about and saying is the line in the sand for me as far as the market being bullish or bearish, and that is the monthly 10 SMA. Pretty much everywhere I look, I've gone back to 1929 using Thinkorswim, going all the way back there. But if you look, almost every time that price can get back over the monthly 10 and stay over the monthly 10, it's bullish for however long. Who knows how long it's going to be, but it'll be bullish until the next time it's not. So we closed November because of that Jerome Powell comment and the way that the market reacted. We closed November over the monthly 10, and now here we are, December. We're day one of December, and we now have a fresh bar over the monthly 10. If this thing continues like this and closes over the monthly 10, everything I see says bullish. So there you go. I really wasn't expecting this, actually. I thought we were going to be going down a little bit lower, but here we are. The other thing is that we want to make sure that this isn't a fake out. So if this is a fake out, and this happens to still be a bear market rally or a bear market bounce, and we do roll over again, then what we should see is that should actually close below the monthly 10, okay? So I know it's going to be a whole month to figure this out, but I think that's what we're looking for. And I'm kind of leaning to the upside. You know, honestly, the way that the market reacted, Jerome Powell speaking, doing that kind of thing. And yeah, I just, you know, Santa Claus rally into the end of the year. I think it's going to be pretty hard to really roll this market back over. So watch that monthly chart. We're into the final stretch of the year, and we should see where that thing goes. Since why I'm on here, the SPY is now over the monthly 10. We obviously know that the Dow is, and see there's what I'm talking about right there. You can see that one closed over the monthly 10. The IWM just got there, and you can see now it now has 2 months over the monthly 10. And then we look at the NASDAQ, and it's definitely the laggard. But given that the NASDAQ is so sensitive to interest rates, what's the idea that if interest rates are going to start coming down, or, you know, slowing and then pausing, all that kind of stuff, maybe this actually starts playing catch up. And as I said, money from the Dow comes into the NASDAQ, and we could see this thing kind of really get moving. So on that note, I see the Dow or the NASDAQ look good, and then the semis. And I was short the semis actually this week, and it was working out fairly well until Jerome Powell came out and said his thing. Look at where we are. We are now back over the monthly 10. And again, if that continues, then we can't really argue that. The other thing is I had a bit of a channel right here, and you can see that there is a channel right here. And then price managed to hold the monthly 50, bounce off, and now look at this. We are over and breaking out of that channel. Yet another thing that I kind of have to look at this and say, we might actually be bullish in this whole market. So I think we got to kind of lean on the bullish side. So until I'm proven wrong, we got to go back to being on the bullish side. So that's what I'm seeing. With that, let's look at the IWM. And I was looking for the IWM, thought it would kind of get rejected around here, and I was looking for it to kind of test the daily 50 and then move back up. So again, I was looking for a bit of a pullback. The market was looking, it's looking a little shaky, looking a little weak. Most likely it was probably waiting for Jerome Powell and whatever he was going to say. But I would have loved to see a little touchback and then a move up like that, but we didn't get that. As it turns out, what it probably just ended up doing is a bit flagging, you know, just flag sideways. It used the hourly 200 and the daily 21 as support, and then Jerome Powell confirmed that. So boom, you know, move up. So that's the IWM. And if you look at the SOXX, same thing. The reason I was short, you know, was basically the SMH, the SOXX were at the 200s right through here, and I figured we would have got a dip just below there. I figured we were going to get a dip down here to the hourly 200, but that was not to be. And so, yeah, everything was looking like it was going to be moving down, and then it just flipped, just absolutely flipped. And, you know, so I kind of look at this, there's kind of a line like that, and then there's your wedge, and it broke out. So as long as this kind of keeps going and keeps following some support, we'll see what the report tomorrow does, and if it kind of drops things, maybe we can get better prices. But overall, it looks like things are going to be moving upward. Another thing, if we look at UUP, we can see it was looking like it was, let's see, why is this? Looked like it wanted to go, here we go, there's the zero line. So you can see here, I was looking at a level like this, and the Moxie indicator was moving up, and it was basically firing. Price was getting over the hourly 50, and we even had a trampoline move here on the 15-minute time frame before Jerome Powell spoke, which was price below the 50, but the Moxie indicator above zero. This thing looked like it was ready to move up like this, and it looked like it ready to move up a bit and to move up a bit. So if the dollar had moved up, then the market would have moved down, and that's what I was looking for. But again, based on what Jerome Powell said, everything changed, and you could see this immediately reversed and then continued down the next day, and now it's breaking lower. So a down dollar is going to be bullish for the market, and if this keeps going, it's going to be bullish for the market. Now, of course, it might bounce here, it might do whatever, but generally speaking, if this just kind of is weakish, then that's going to be bullish for the market. So as long as the dollar doesn't come springing back to life, then it should be bullish for the market. TNX, let's do TLT. So TLT, If the TLT is bullish, then the market is also bullish. And again, I was looking and expecting for a little bit more of a dip than it was. So up here, it was getting oversold, big gap like that, and we were seeing it up like that and down like that. And I was looking for a deeper pullback. Now, I was bullish on TLT, and I was bearish on the dollar, but I was expecting them to kind of do a reversal before continuing. I didn't think they were just going to keep going the direction that they were going to go. So I was expecting TLT to come down here to call it the daily 21 or the daily 50, something like that, and then continue to move up. I thought it was getting a little bit stretched to where it was, but because of Jerome Powell and his conversation, just boom, everything just kept going the direction that they were going and continued on. So TLT up should also be good for the market. So TLT up, market up. So we have that. And then Amazon, there were a couple things I was seeing here that was alluding to a bullish scenario. Let me start here on the higher time frames. So if we look at this, Amazon was starting to get a little bit stretched. I mean, first off, if you look generally speaking, where was Amazon? It was right into its previous price support, price congestion. So I thought that was going to be a little bit of a support. It was probably going to bounce, and you can see there's a really big gap here between price and the monthly 10 SMA. You can see also there was a gap here too, and what did it do? It moved back up into the monthly 10 SMA, and I have a feeling we're probably going to do the same thing. I have a feeling that Amazon is going to move back up into the monthly 10, and the weekly is going to move back up too. Now on the daily chart, let me show you a couple Moxie things that I was looking at. See the elf shoe, leg, heel, arch of the foot, ball of the foot. I figure there's an elf toe coming. So I think that there's going to be a fairly decent up move coming with Amazon. Now the other thing is, here's price below the 50, Moxie indicator above 0. That should be a trampoline move. It is. Looks like it's doing well. Leading up to that, though, just before Jerome Powell, here you go. Here was price moving up, but the Moxie indicator was spread. Not very strong. Doesn't agree with each other. But then as price was coming down like this, here's your double bottom. There's your positive divergence. Look how nice and tight that Moxie indicator looks. Now things look good. And I would imagine through here, price should be holding the hourly 50 and moving up like that. So Amazon looks like a buy. If you want to do that. That looks like a good dip buy, double bottom type situation. Tesla, another situation. So if we look at the higher time frames, I have been calling for Tesla to the weekly 200. Boom. So got that. Tesla did go down to the weekly 200. Now it looks like this is probably going to be support. So the weekly 200, the monthly 50 looks like support. It also looks like if you kind of come in here, that Tesla was a little oversold. You see how there's a pretty big gap here between price and the weekly 8 EMA. So oversold. And then we come here, not too much clarity really on the daily chart, but on the hourly and 15, we got a little bit more clarity. You could see price down, Moxie indicator up, and then price right there held the hourly 50. And then again, it's not so much clarity here. It kind of went down, not super clear here on the 15, but it did hold the 15-minute 200. So there you go. The hourly was probably the cleanest. I have a feeling that there will still be more opportunity to trade this thing to the long side. So watch for pullbacks. Those pullbacks will probably be buyable. And then we'll just have to see. Maybe this thing gets to the daily 50 and actually over the daily 50. So kind of keep watching this one. I would imagine that it's going to be bullish too. All right. So Apple, not too much. It's also been very choppy. I imagine if the market's going to be bullish, Apple's going to be bullish. So, there you go. Apple seems okay, but I can't really find an entry yet. It's mostly just chopping. And then precious metals. Precious metals have really been moving. So there is something I want to show you. If we look at GLD, and I was a little bummed that I didn't act on this, even though I saw it. Gold was sitting on basically the monthly 50, and there was a big gap here between price and the weekly, so between price and the monthly 10 SMA. And when things finally clicked off, like when the dollar started to go down, of course that's good for gold and precious metals, it came up to fill that gap and went right to the monthly 10. Also went to the weekly 50. Let me show you also CLF, Cleveland Cliffs. This is steel. So Metals in general should also be doing well. So what is it doing? It's sitting right there on the the monthly 50. There is a gap between price and the monthly 10. So what do we think is going to happen? I think price is going to close the gap and go right there. There's about 20% right there if you want to trade that. So I think that's what's going to happen. And the other thing I want to show you on GLD is it did a little bit of a pullback flag into the daily 21. You couldn't quite call this a trampoline move, but it did get back on top of the hourly 50 right there. And the Moxie indicator did quickly turn around. Yes, it went below zero, but it quickly recovered. And really the biggest thing to show you here is on the 15-minute time frame. This move here was not the legitimate move. That was not the real serious move, because why? The Moxie indicators were spread from each other, and you could see that they were just not indicating a whole lot of strength. But you get a little bit of time, a little bit of pullback, then what do we get? Right here, Moxie indicator looks really super tight, looks like one line. We get price back over the 15-minute 50, and the 15-minute 50 is now over the 15-minute 200. Again, we have price testing the hourly 50, and then it just pops. And that was part of Jerome Powell, and then it can follow through in continuation. So it's a little extended here, can't exactly buy it at this point, but I wanted to show you that. And that's how I was watching that and seeing some setups in gold and the precious metals. Now, if we go back to Cleveland Cliffs, CLF, this is actually looking pretty good too. So you can see here we have basically price has been going down, the Moxie indicator has been going up, so lots of divergence there. And you can see now we have the 8 over the 21. We have both of those over the 50, the price over the 50 starting to curl up, the Moxie indicator over zero. All that looks good. We have the 200 acting as support here on the hourly, and we also have a trampoline move because price below the 50, but the Moxie indicator above zero. And we also have some divergence here, and the Moxie indicator starting to look good, and we should be engaging with these moving averages right now too. So CLF looks pretty good here also. And then, yeah, if you guys wanted to see another sign of risk coming on, which is basically dollar coming down, interest rates coming down, look at the cannabis space. Look around at some other higher risk on type categories. But this is MJ. This is the ETF for cannabis. And what do we got? Price down, Moxie indicator up. We also have right there, we have a trampoline move, price below the 50, Moxie indicator above zero. And I guess something happened today. I mean, obviously these were up yesterday, but it really continued today. And Moxie indicator right there, just starting to cross back over zero. Again with the 15-minute Moxie indicator. Notice that the 15-minute Moxie indicator last week was not strong, and that was indicative of everything. This move up then got pulled down. That was telling you that was not the real move. That wasn't the real strong move. But now look, you had your double bottom. There's your positive divergence, and now look how strong that Moxie indicator looks. It looks like one line, and now we got the big move up. So, I don't think we've really missed too much. We've basically only had 2 days of this kind of stuff, and at this point, just watch for dips, pullbacks. Pullbacks should be viable in this kind of area. And yeah, I just wanted to make sure that everybody saw that now that everything has changed with that new news from Jerome Powell yesterday. All right, guys. Thanks again. Catch you at the next one.
Hey guys, Dave Keller here with StockCharts.com. Thanks so much for watching our video. If you enjoyed it, and we hope you did, hit the like button right below. Also, we have so much new content every day. Consider subscribing to the channel. Just hit the subscribe button in the video or right below. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Have a fantastic day.